Hi guys, my name is Aaron Rump, and today what we're going to be doing is a video on how to set up a CNC machining program on the Proto Trak KMXs. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our picture here, and our picture shows our two cutting tools and our edge finder along with some parallels and our 1, 2, 3 block and our material. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to come to our vise right here. And if you look right here, I've got my vise and I want to make sure everything's nice and clean. Now I can use my fingers or I can use a rag. So for this case, if it's got a lot of oil on it, I'll just take it and I'm going to get everything nice and clean on my jaws. And then I'm going to take my parallels. I want to make sure my parallels are clean. Now these are kind of rusty parallels, so if you find someone that are a little bit better, that's going to be just fine. And we're going to go ahead and get our part loaded and then we'll go from there. So on here, on this part that we have, I've got this side right here. Now I've filed all my edges on here, okay? I've got our raw material here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on top of my 1, 2, 3, on top of my parallels, okay? And then I usually like to get it on line with the side of the jaws. You don't have to, it could be anywhere on here because we're doing this in one operation. So in case I gotta reload it, I like to put it right there, okay? So then I'm gonna use my handle right here and I'm gonna snug it down. And you'll have an orange Deblo hammer, but for right now I'm just gonna kind of tap it a little bit, and I'm actually moving my, if you see right here, I don't want my parallels to move, okay? So that one's not moving and that one's not moving, okay? So that's pretty good. So I'm gonna snug it up just a little bit and I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it, all right? And you'll get a feel for that. And as you tighten it, this might start moving again. So let's give it another tap right there. And a Deblo is going to work a lot better whenever we start using this, okay? Very good. So now that that's not moving, what we'll do is we're going to go up to our controller. And what we've done, all we've done is gone to the back of our controller. And if you see this power button right here, we're just going to turn that power button on, and then it'll take a second for it to boot up. When it boots up, I'm going to come right here to mode. So on mode, I'll push mode, and then I have to load my USB. And on this picture here, you'll see the ports. There's actually 2 USB ports, and we're going to be plugging it into this one right here that I have circled. And then we're going to come back to the front of our machine, and we're going to hit mode one more time if it comes up. Okay, so we want to see this list of options. So I'm going to go to Program In/Out. So then I'm going to go up to Open. And what happens is on my USB, I have to have it named without the letter O. So for example, this one says 4446 and it's a .cam file. All right. So I'm going to come down and select it. And then what I'll do is I'll hit open. Okay. There was a program in there. That's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And once this gets loaded, we'll go ahead and set all of our zeros. The nice thing about this machine is it doesn't take a whole lot of time to do the setup. So once we get it loaded, I'll kind of show you what exactly we're going to be running. So to see what we're running, to make sure we got the right program in there, is we'll go to Setup. We're going to spend a lot of time in Setup and DRO. So let's go to Setup, and I'm going to look at the tool path. So it'll process it, but when it first pulls up, it's going to process it as a 2D model. If it does come up as a 3D drawing, okay, it's where you can't see it, you can go to Adjust View and you can move it to XY, which is what we're looking at right now. Or if I want to look at it in 3D drawing, that's what it looked like right here. So this blue line right here is going to be my face mill, and all this engraving right here is going to be with my center drill. So we're only running 2 tools on here, and this shows my tool path, okay? So let's hit return, and we'll hit return one more time, and then I'll hit mode. So the first thing I want to do is I want to set my XY0. So on this part, if we look here at our vise, my XY0 is this back corner, okay? So on your print it would say top left corner, because if I'm looking down at it, the top left corner right here. So to do that, we're going to take our edge finder. Now I'm using a quick change. Now on this quick change, it's got a little turn right here. Now there are some tools that we can use if it is in a bind. The one thing we want to make sure we do, if you look at the picture right here, I'm pointing into high gear, but what we do is we want to move this into low gear, and sometimes you will have to put your hand on the spindle right here and kind of turn a little bit. That helps. All right, so now that I am in low gear, I will turn this. Notice how I'm turning it. Okay, that's the orientation you want to turn it to loosen it. Or if I stick the tool in there and I start rotating it, you'll feel it grab. If I just rotate the tool, it will pop in there. Okay, so that's one way to do it. What I like to do is I like to turn it all the way, and I like to feel it fall in there, and then I let it go. Okay, so if I'm in there, I can see it, and then I actually tighten it back in there. Now I'm just doing hand tight. I'm not using a wrench, and that's going to be plenty strong for what we're doing. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to come up here to my RPMs. That's at the top of my machine, and I'm going to turn it on to 1,000 RPMs. So I'm at 1,000 RPMs. I'm going to turn it to 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. But before I do that, I want to put the machine back into high gear. So I'm in high gear, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into DRO. Okay, so now I can turn on my spindle. So we'll turn it off for this demonstration. Just in case it's too loud, I'll give you an idea once we get closer. I won't leave the spindle on the whole time, okay? So I'm going to come down with my Z, and I'm going to use my controllers to move over. So with my controllers, I'm going to move over until I get to the side here. All right, so I'll go ahead and turn it on, and we'll do one axis at a time. All right, so I'm going to turn on my RPMs. I'm going to move over until the edge finder breaks over. So as I come closer to it, you'll see it goes straight, and then it's going to break over. As soon as it breaks over, and you couldn't see it very well, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to turn my spindle the other way. So you can actually see that it does break over towards us. It is kind of hard to see, but that's what it's going to look like. So once it does that, I'm going to raise my Z up. I'm going to go X ABS set, and then I'm going to move over 100 thousandths. All right, so I could type in X 100 thousandths ABS set, and that'd be fine, but we're going to go ahead and move over the 100 thousandths. Let's go X set. I'm going to move over 100 thousandths, and then I'm going to hit X set, ABS set. So now we're going to do the same thing for Y. So we'll move over a little bit. All right, and then we'll come over here, and we'll lower our Z, and we'll turn on the spindle. Now you'll be able to see the edge finder break over a little easier in this view. So I'm coming towards it very slowly until it straightens up. Now remember, you're not there yet until it breaks over. So from there, I will raise it up. I'll come back over and I'll go Y, ABS set, and then I'm going to move towards the part. Make sure you're going the right direction. So let's go over 100 thousandths. Very good. Now if you're a thousandths off, a couple tenths off, you're fine. But for right now, we're going to go 100 thousandths ABS set. So that's good. Now that we have our X and our Y set, we're going to go ahead and set our Z. Now what I want to do is I want to put tool 1, which is that face mill, I'm going to put it into the spindle. So we'll get this up out of the way. And you don't want to go up all the way too fast, or else the machine will servo out and you'll have to turn it off and turn it back on. So I want to go back into low gear so that I can take this tool out of the spindle. I'm going to put my face mill. I'm going to turn this until it falls in there. Then I tighten it up, okay? Now at this point in time, I'm going to take my 1, 2, 3 block. Now you can do this two ways. You can bring the tool down to the top of the part, and then you'll go Z, ABS set, but I'm going to do it with a 1, 2, 3 block. That way I'm less likely to break the inserts on my tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm still in DRO mode. You can see right here. I'm going to come down, and I'm putting a little bit of pressure on my insert. So as I come up, as soon as that insert goes underneath it, I'll move out of the way, come down, and then I'm going to slowly come up until that 1, 2, 3 block goes underneath it. Now remember, I call it a 1, 2, 3 block because it's 1 inch by 2 inch by 3 inch. So I am under the 3 inch portion, so therefore I will type in Z3.0 ABS set. So now we've set our X, our Y, and our Z. Okay, now we're going to go and set both of our tools. Now you're probably thinking, okay, I just set the tool. So what you did was you set the Z origin, okay, which Z0 is the top of my part. So that's why I'm currently 3 inches above the top of my part. So I'm going to put my 1, 2, 3 block right here on my vise, and I'm going to move over to it. All right. So before we do, I'm going to go back to mode. I'm going to go to setup. I'm going to go to tool table. Now up here at the top, this Z retracts. So if you go all the way home and then you come down a little bit, so right now I am all the way home. Okay, we'll go up a little bit more. I'm all the way home right there. I'm going to come down about 3/8 of an inch, 300 thousandths, just not at home. And then I'm going to hit ABS set. Okay, I'm not going to put anything in on my diameter. I'm going to hit ABS set again. Now is where I want to set my base, okay? Position the tool reference point, then press set. All right, so now I'm going to bring it to my 1, 2, 3 block. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to touch that right there, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come up until it goes underneath my tool. So from there, okay, I'm just going to hit ABS set. Now it's very important that you do it in this order, because if you do it out of order, there's going to be a good chance it's not going to work right when you go to do it. However, I'm going to show you guys how to verify that it is set up correctly. On our Z modifier, okay, that is what we call our wear offset column. Okay, so if I want to take off an additional 5 thousandths, so say my program says to lower it down 10 thousandths, I will go a minus 10 thousandths, and then I'll hit ABS set. All right, tool type, I could put that in there. I'm using a face mill, so I'll hit 5, ABS set. So now I'm ready to do tool number 2. So I'll make sure I'm in low gear. I'll take this tool out because I'm done with it. Set it off to the side. Now I'm going to grab my center drill. Now I've got a number 3 center drill, and you want to make sure that this tip right here is nice and sharp, because if it's not sharp, you end up with a bad tool, bad finish. Okay, so again, I'm in low gear. Open it up. It falls in there, and I let go. Okay, and you'll know it's in there because if it's not in there, it's just going to fall down. Okay, so let's go ahead and set off my 1, 2, 3 block right here. So we're just going to raise it up until my tool goes underneath it. And that's it. So then I'll hit set. I'm going to set that amount. Okay, it's a 1/4 inch difference from the bottom of my face mill to the bottom of my center drill. Okay, I will also lower this the same amount, because in my program it's going to go 3 or 4 thousandths into the material, but if I didn't lower it with my other tool, it would be cutting air. Now with that said, if you want to leave it 0 and watch it run, you can always come back later and lower that down. All right, this is a center drill, like I said, so that's a number 2, and that's it. So we're actually done with the setup. We're ready to run. Not too shabby. All right, however, I want to show you all how to verify that you have set your tools correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to mode, DRO. Now if you look up here, it says tool number 2 is in the spindle. So I want to see if my tool is in fact 3 inches above my material. So what I'll do is I'll come back over here, and I'm going to actually lift it up. And you'll watch as on the screen, you'll actually see it's getting bigger until I slide underneath it right there. So right there, I'm 3 inches, 4 thousandths. That's pretty close. That's what we're looking for. What I'm not looking for is for it to say 0. If it says 0, then that's where it's going to start engraving, okay? So that's good. So watch this. I'm simply going to go tool number. I want to put tool number 1 back in the spindle, ABS set. So now tool 1's in the spindle. Look at that. It's about a 1/4 inch difference. So I'll take my tool out. I'll put my face mill in there because that's the tool I want to start with. And I should be a 1/4 inch above 3 inches, and that looks like a 1/4 inch, but let's verify. I'll bring it right there until it comes right underneath it. So I'm about 6 thousandths right there, and that's good, okay? We're not gonna have a perfect 3 inches on there unless we get really lucky, all right? But this shows us that we're not gonna crash into our part, all right? So with that said, we'll get this out, kind of clear off my table. I wanna make sure the machine is in high gear before I start. So let's go ahead and put it in high gear. And then I'm gonna go to mode. Okay, another thing, if you wanted to check it to make sure you had your X and your Y correctly, we'll go to DRO and we're going to return to ABS 0. So I'll tell you what, let me show you that real fast because it's not going to take very long. This is just going to make sure that we set our X and our Y correctly, and this is what you would show your instructor when he asks to check your X, Y, 0. I'm simply going to push return to ABS and hit go. Okay, and what that does is it'll move to that location, and then I'll come down and you'll actually see that the tool is right there at the corner where we want to set it at. And that's good, that's what we want, okay? So with that said, let's put our tool 1 back in the spindle. Then we're gonna go ahead and run it. So we're gonna go to mode. I'm gonna go to run because everything is started, okay? And then I'm gonna go to start, not start event, just start. It'll take a second to think, and then when it's ready, it'll tell you to go, all right? Now, a safe thing to do is gonna be to reduce our override to about 20. That way, in case there is something we missed, it'll be okay. We'll actually catch it before it hits. But I'm gonna go 100%. So it's gonna go to home and start my spindle. So I'm gonna run this at, let's say 1500 RPM. So I'm going to turn my spindle on in high gear. Okay, I'm in high gear. Now I'm going to hit go. And I'll stop it right before it gets there because I'll show you something else. Okay? So I stopped it about 1 inch above the part, and I'm going to go look at my ABS. Not my incremental. Show ABS. That's what I'm looking for. That says I'm about 1 inch above the part, correct? So watch this. If I turn off my spindle, I'll take my 1, 2, 3 block. Remember, this is 1 inch, and I'm going to slide it right underneath there. And if I look at it, that is really close. Now I got kind of lucky stopping it right at 1 inch, but you'll be able to look in front of it and see where it's at. So I know I'm not going to crash. So I'm going to turn my spindle back on. I'm going to hit go. Now, if you have coolant, you can always use coolant on this. A lot of times, you can put some oil on it. I'll put some oil on the back so you can kind of see it. Just something that helps that cutter stay cool. Pretty good. You'll start to enjoy the smell of oil. And once this tool is done cutting, it's going to turn off the spindle for us, and then it's going to tell us to load the next tool. It goes back to that reference point that we set. Very good. So now it's telling us to go ahead and load that next tool. So what we'll do is I have to go into low gear, and this tool will actually go around the spindle of my part. That way it'll kind of help me get this tool out of the spindle. Okay, it makes it a lot easier, okay? So I'll take that one out. And a lot of times, once that spindle starts, it kind of wedges it in there. So I'm gonna open it up, get that to fall in there, and then I'm going to manually start my spindle, okay? So I'm gonna turn it to 0, and I'm gonna turn it back on, And I'll do the same thing. Oh, I'm in low gear. So let's put it in high gear. Start that spindle. Good news is it's easy to fix. I'm gonna hit go, and then I'm gonna stop it. Now if you look here, it says I got a 1/4 inch to go. I can see that looks like a 1/4 inch. Now if that says 1 inch, and that's how close I was, that means it's gonna crash. So let's go ahead and let this run. So if you're noticing, it's supposed to be engraving, but at this point it's not. So we can do two things. We can either let this finish out running, or we can stop the machine, which we're gonna do by hitting mode. And then we're gonna go into that wear offset column. So we're gonna go to setup. We're gonna go to tool table, right here on this modifier. So we're gonna hit data left, and we're gonna take it down -0.015. We'll go 5 thousandths at a time. All right, now we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna go to run, and we're gonna go to start event. Now the engraving is event number 7. So I'm gonna go start 7, ABS set. It'll take a second to think, and then once it gets ready, I'll hit go. It's gonna go up there and it's gonna tell me I need to start it, okay? So I'll start it and hit start. So as you can see, because we went an additional 5 thousandths, it is now engraving our part. It might be kind of hard to see in the image, but right now that's what we're getting right there. So again,